The thing about being underestimated your entire life is that you learn silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. You watch, you listen, you wait, because eventually, people show you exactly who they are. I'm Marcus Chin, 31, the family disappointment, always have been. My sister, Jennifer, the golden child, flaunted promotions, stock options, and filtered selfies from luxury hotels. I, on the other hand, was still pushing papers at that boring government office, as Dad liked to remind me. Marcus works for some federal agency, Mom would say to relatives, offering an embarrassed smile. Something with banking, we don't really understand it. Jennifer never missed her moment. I just closed a $3 million deal, she'd brag at dinner. Meanwhile, Marcus is probably filing forms for his $60,000 salary. Laughter, eye rolls, I smiled, stayed quiet, and changed the subject. Because my boring job wasn't in some dusty cubicle. I was a senior special agent at the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN. My real work involved dismantling multi-million-dollar fraud and laundering operations. My clearance level was above top secret. My testimony had helped imprison people Jennifer read about in the news. But discretion was survival. Flashy wealth attracts attention, and attention compromises cases. So, I kept my life small, Honda, modest apartment, off-the-rack suits, let them believe I was ordinary. It worked until 6 months ago. Jennifer's cruelty had taken on a strange edge. Mom, don't lend Marcus money, she'd say loudly. He's terrible with finances, always has been. She'd laugh, sip wine, and flash her new designer bag. There was always something new, the luxury SUV, the handbags, the expanded portfolio. For someone who'd been drowning in student loans, she suddenly had deep pockets. I assumed it was a raise. I should have known better. The text came during a briefing on a multi-state identity theft ring. Mom, family dinner Sunday. Your father has an announcement. I almost skipped it, but announcements meant wills, health, big family decisions. I texted back, I'll be there. Dinner at my parents' house was the usual spectacle, 12-seater table, fine china, crystal glasses. Jennifer arrived in a $75,000 Mercedes, wrapped in Burberry, radiating success. Dad cleared his throat. We've decided to update our estate plan. Jennifer's eyes sparkled. Fair is good, she said sweetly, though some of us have contributed more than others. Mom's smile faltered. Everything will be split equally. Dinner rolled on, Jennifer dominating the room, basking in admiration. I stayed silent, mentally reviewing case files. We were days from making arrests. Then dessert arrived, and Jennifer's moment. Speaking of finances, she said, her tone dripping with satisfaction, I have something to share. The table quieted. Marcus, she said, smiling like a cat with a cornered mouse, you've inspired me. I decided to take control of my finances, to make bold moves. So, I used your identity to secure an $85,000 personal loan, approved last month. For a moment, no one breathed. What? I said evenly. She laughed. Relax. I'm making the payments. Mostly. It's not theft when it's family. Dad blinked. Jennifer, what are you talking about? Oh, come on, she said, waving a manicured hand. Marcus won't even notice. He's too busy filing reports at his little government job. You committed identity theft, I said. My voice didn't rise. She smirked. Big words for someone who couldn't afford a lawyer. Mom forced a laugh. Maybe you should have asked him first, honey? Asked? Jennifer scoffed. He'd have said no. That's why he's always stuck. I take risks. That's what winners do. You forged my signature, I said. That's federal banking fraud. Federal banking fraud, she mocked. Please, it's a family matter. I'm just reallocating resources. Dad looked stunned. Jennifer. I created opportunity, she interrupted. He'd never use his credit anyway. Then she turned to me, her voice cutting like glass. So, what are you going to do, Marcus? Cry to Mom and Dad? Call the police? You'd have to prove it first. She flashed her phone. Everything looks legit. Even the signature matches perfectly. You forged government documents, I said softly. I created success, she said proudly. Something you'd never understand. I tilted my head. You said you're making most of the payments. That means you've already missed some. Her confidence faltered. You're bluffing. The bank has sent 3 delinquency notices, I said, all addressed to me. Each one is evidence. Each one builds a paper trail. Jennifer's smirk disappeared. You asked what I could do about it, I said. That's interesting phrasing. I pulled out my phone, typed a short message, and hit send. Initiate fraud investigation. Target confirmed. Location, 4821, Brookside Drive, Bethesda, Maryland. Multiple witnesses present. Subject confessed to identity theft and document forgery. Jennifer's face drained of color. Who are you texting? I looked at her, calm as ever. My team. Hi, team, I said evenly. Jennifer let out a nervous laugh. Your team? What are they going to do, file a complaint from your boring office? Not exactly, I replied. My phone buzzed. A new message flashed across the screen. Deputy Director Karen Martinez, Units Dispatching, ETA, 8 minutes. Recording authorization confirmed. Mom's voice trembled. Marcus, what's going on? I turned toward Jennifer. My voice was calm, professional. I need to read you your rights. Her smile faltered. My what? You have the right to remain silent, I began. Stop it, she snapped. This isn't funny. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Marcus, enough. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed for you. I don't need a damn attorney, Jennifer shouted. You're not a cop. You're right, I said quietly. I'm not a police officer. I reached into my jacket and flipped open my credentials, gold badge on one side, ID on the other. I'm Senior Special Agent Marcus Chin, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, U.S. Treasury Department. I specialize in banking fraud, identity theft, and financial crime investigations. The room fell dead silent. Jennifer's face drained of color. No, you work some desk job. I investigate financial crimes, I said. Complex ones. My current caseload includes a multi-state identity theft ring, a cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme, and, as of 3 weeks ago, a personal case involving my own stolen identity. Dad rose slowly, disbelief in his eyes. Marcus, you're a federal agent? For 7 years, I confirmed. I couldn't tell you. My work demands secrecy. Mom's voice quivered. But we thought. You thought I was a low-level clerk, I said, finishing for her. That story kept you and me safe. Flashy wealth draws attention, and attention compromises investigations. So, I lived modestly. Let you think I was the failure. Jennifer's hands were shaking now. You can't arrest me. I'm your sister. That's exactly why I can, I said quietly. You committed federal crimes, identity theft, bank fraud, document forgery, and you used your relationship with a federal employee to do it. That's not just fraud, Jennifer. That's an aggravated offense. Her eyes widened. I didn't know you were. You knew I worked for the government, I interrupted. You used that information to assume I couldn't touch you. You assumed wrong. Outside, I heard engines approaching. Multiple vehicles. Marcus, please, Jennifer pleaded. I'll fix it. I'll pay it back. You missed 3 payments, I said flatly. The damage is done. And this isn't about money. It's about federal crimes, the kind that don't go away because we share DNA. She stepped closer. But I'm your sister. Which makes it worse, I said. You exploited family trust to commit a felony. The doorbell rang. Dad moved numbly to open it. 6 FBI agents stood on the porch, led by Deputy Director Martinez, sharp suit, focused eyes, FBI windbreaker catching the porch light. Agent Chin, she greeted. Subject present, seated at the table. I said, she's been Mirandized and made multiple self-incriminating statements. Jennifer's voice broke into panic. This is insane. Marcus, tell them it's a mistake. Martinez's tone was measured. Official. Jennifer Marie Chin, you are under arrest for federal banking fraud, identity theft, document forgery, and wire fraud. You have the right to remain silent. I know my rights, Jennifer screamed. Marcus, do something. I am, I said calmly. I'm prosecuting a case. 2 agents moved to cuff her. She fought, shouting about loyalty and betrayal, tears streaking her face. Agent Chin Martinez said quietly, "We'll need statements from everyone." They witnessed the confession. Multiple confessions, I confirmed. She admitted to forging documents, securing fraudulent loans, and missing payments. Mom was crying openly. Dad's face had gone gray. My uncle cleared his throat. I heard it all. She was bragging about it. Same, my aunt whispered. She thought it was clever. Martinez nodded. We'll document everything. Agent Chin, given your involvement, you'll need to recuse from the case. Understood, I said. All evidence is logged and ready for transfer. Jennifer screamed as they led her away. You're supposed to protect me. You're my brother. How can you do this? You did this to yourself, I said quietly. I just documented it. The agents escorted her out. Red and blue lights painted the front windows. Neighbors had gathered, phones out, filming. Inside, silence fell heavy. Mom finally spoke, voice cracking. Marcus, how long? 7 years, I said softly. Since I was 24, Treasury recruited me out of college, financial analysis and languages. Languages? Dad asked weakly. Mandarin, Japanese, Korean, I said. I use them to track international money laundering networks. Mom shook her head. We thought that was just a hobby. It was training, I corrected. Everything I did was preparation. Dad stared at me. But you live so simply. The apartment, the car. Part of my cover. Flashy agents get burned. The best investigators stay invisible and underestimated. Mom whispered. Jennifer said you couldn't afford a lawyer. I have an entire legal division behind me, I said. The U.S. Attorney's Office prosecutes my cases. I collaborate with the FBI, Secret Service, IRS criminal investigations, Homeland Security. I paused, meeting their eyes. I don't need a lawyer. I work with the people who prosecute them. My uncle spoke gently. Marcus, what happens now? She'll be processed tonight, I said, charged with multiple federal felonies. Given the amount, $85,000, and the interstate elements, sentencing guidelines suggest 5 to 7 years minimum. Mom gasped. Prison? Federal prison, I said, and the aggravating factors, targeting a federal agent, abusing family trust, showing no remorse, will likely extend that sentence. Dad put his head in his hands. Can't you help her? No, I said firmly. I can't interfere with a federal case. And honestly, she doesn't need protection. She needs accountability. I looked toward the window, where the flashing lights were fading down the street. For years, I said quietly, she mocked me for being the disappointment, but tonight, the truth finally spoke for itself. But she's your sister, Mom pleaded. Which makes it worse, I said again. She had family access to my personal information. She exploited that trust. She deliberately targeted me because she thought I was powerless. That's not a mistake, that's calculated, predatory behavior. My phone buzzed. Text from Martinez. Subject lawyered up. Requesting personal effects search. Need family consent or warrant. I looked at my parents. The FBI wants to search Jennifer's room here. They can get a warrant. Or you can consent. Dad's voice trembled. What are they looking for? Evidence of other frauds, I said. If she did this to me, she's probably done it to others, documents, account statements, other people's personal information. Mom nodded slowly. Search it. 20 minutes later, 2 FBI agents were photographing Jennifer's childhood bedroom, now her guest room. They found a locked file box in her closet. Agent Chin, one of them called. You need to see this. Inside were credit card statements in multiple names, loan applications, and copies of driver's licenses and social security cards. I pointed. That's Dad's information, and Mom's, and Uncle Ray's. My uncle went pale. She stole my identity too. The agent bagged everything carefully. We'll need to notify these victims and open additional investigations. Dad's voice cracked. How many people? At least 6 so far, the agent said. Could be more. Mom's tears came in quiet waves. Our own daughter. Your daughter is a serial identity thief, I said gently. She's been running a fraud operation, targeting her own family. She chose me first because she thought I couldn't fight back. Dad's eyes darted. But her job, her company, her success. Probably funded by stolen money. I said, they'll audit her finances. Every dollar will be traced. My phone rang. Martinez. Agent Chin. Subject is requesting to speak with you. Says she wants to make a deal. No deals, I said. She confessed in front of witnesses. No remorse. She targeted a federal agent and multiple family members. There's nothing to negotiate. Understood. Her attorney's pushing back. But the evidence is solid. Loan documents, recordings, and now physical proof. The U.S. attorney wants to move fast. Indictment by Wednesday. Arraignment by Friday. No bail recommendation. She's a high-risk financial offender. Copy that, I said, ending the call. I turned to my parents. Jennifer will be formally charged Wednesday. No bail. She'll stay in custody until trial. Mom whispered. Federal Detention Center. Correct, I said quietly. She's committed multiple federal crimes. They can't risk her fleeing. Dad's hands were shaking. Marcus, why did you wait? You said you knew weeks ago. Why didn't you stop her immediately? I needed evidence, I said. Intent, pattern, awareness, all required for prosecution. I had to prove she knew it was fraud, that it wasn't a mistake. You were investigating your own sister, he said, stunned. I was doing my job, I corrected. Once I saw the loan inquiry, I opened a case file. I documented everything, every transaction, every communication. I waited for her to act. Uncle Ray spoke softly. You let her keep stealing. I let her build her own case, I said. If I'd stopped her too early, she could have claimed confusion. This way, every document, every lie, every dollar spent proves deliberate intent. My aunt's voice shook. That's cold. That's prosecution, I said evenly. Emotions don't convict criminals, evidence does. My phone buzzed again, a new message from the forensic accounting team. Preliminary audit, $340,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards across 6 victims. Legitimate income, $95,000. Lifestyle expenses, $180,000 plus. Gap funded entirely by fraud. I showed my parents the message. Mom whispered, the car, the clothes, the dinners, all stolen. She built an entire life on fraud, I said. Dad swallowed hard. How long? 2, maybe 3 years, I said. That's when her spending pattern changed. Mom's voice was small, and we never noticed. She was careful, I said. She targeted relatives who wouldn't check credit reports, kept loans small enough to avoid alerts, paid just enough to stay invisible. Uncle Ray murmured, but she got caught. Because she got greedy, I said, and because she picked the wrong target. I looked at my parents. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry your daughter is going to prison, but she made those choices. Dad asked quietly. Who else did she hurt? The banks, other victims whose identities she used, the integrity of the financial system. Fraud ripples out. These aren't victimless crimes. The agents finished collecting evidence. The house fell silent. Dinner sat untouched. Mom finally asked, what happens now? The FBI continues the investigation, I said. The U.S. attorney builds the case. Her assets will be frozen. Anything bought with stolen money will be seized. Dad whispered, she'll have nothing. She'll have what she earned honestly, I said, which isn't much. My phone rang again, an unknown number. This is Agent Chin. Agent Chin. David Morrison. I represent your sister, Jennifer. My client wants to discuss a possible resolution. There's nothing to resolve, I said. She confessed. We have evidence. She's your sister, he pressed. Surely there's room for leniency. I'm a federal agent, I said. Family doesn't erase crimes. She's willing to pay restitution. That doesn't remove federal charges, I said. Wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, those are non-negotiable. We can argue it was a misunderstanding, Morrison said. We have her confession on tape, I replied. She bragged about it. There's no misunderstanding. Silence. Mr. Morrison, I said, your client faces 8 to 10 years. Prepare her for that. I ended the call. Dad stared at me. You really won't help her. I won't compromise justice, I said. Would you want federal agents to ignore a crime because of family ties? He didn't answer. Jennifer made choices, I said. She stole, forged, and defrauded. She targeted family because she thought we were safe, easy marks. I paused. She chose wrong. She's going to prison. Mom said softly. Yes, because of you. Because of her crimes. I corrected. I followed procedure. I protected victims. She's not in prison because I acted, she's there because she acted. Uncle Ray cleared his throat. I need to check my credit reports. You do, I said. The FBI found applications in your name. The victim coordinator will guide you. Mom and Dad sat wordless. Dad whispered, our daughter destroyed our family. Your daughter's a criminal, I said gently. It's not who you thought she was, but it's who she became. The night ended with FBI paperwork, hotline numbers, and silence. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with updates, evidence logged, charges drafted, prosecutors ready. It was airtight. She'd built her own prison one transaction at a time. 3 days later, Jennifer Chin was indicted on 14 counts of federal fraud and identity theft. No bail. Flight risk. The trial took 2 weeks. The evidence, her confessions, documents, and spending trails, left no room for doubt. She was convicted on all counts. At sentencing, the judge's words were measured but heavy. Jennifer Marie Chin, you targeted your own family and exploited their trust for personal gain. You showed no remorse. You believed you were untouchable. You were wrong. The gavel fell. 8 years in federal prison, 5 years supervised release, restitution, $340,000, all fraudulent assets seized. Mom sobbed quietly. Dad didn't move. I sat in the back. Expression unreadable. Justice had been served. 8 years. She'd be 39 when she got out, broke, disgraced, forgotten. All because she thought her boring, quiet brother couldn't fight back. As I stepped out of the courthouse, my phone buzzed. Text from Martinez. Excellent work on the Chin case. U.S. Attorney praised your report. This will reflect well in your record. I typed back. Just doing my job. Because that's what it was. Not revenge. Not family drama. Just a federal agent doing what he was trained to do. Protecting victims. Upholding the law. Even when the criminal was his sister. Especially when the criminal was his sister.